Okay, I'm here today to do a shout out to Dutchwaregear.com. I had a really great experience with this company. They're not paying me to do this. They didn't furnish this tarp. I paid for it with my own money out of my own pocket, full price, no discounts. Uh, this is their relatively new Xenon bonded wide winter tarp with doors. And it's a sill poly tarp. And since it's bonded, it doesn't have any seams that have to be sealed, which is fantastic. So when you get this tarp, you'll never have to seal any seams, and it's bonded. And I'll tell you why I'm giving them such a great shout out in just a minute. But before that, let's show you basically how you set this tarp up. First thing I did is I ran the ridge line out. I'm not going to show you that part. Everybody knows how to do a ridge line for their tarp. But go ahead and run your ridge line, stretch it out so it's taut at the top, and then go ahead and stake out both corners of your far side, of that side. This tarp also comes with an additional ridge line underneath here that you're going to have to assemble. It just clips onto these two Beastie D-rings underneath here, and that helps you set up these poles. And this is the part that I really wanted to show you today. So this isn't intended to be a full review of the tarp. It's just intended to show you what a great tarp it is and how you can, if you order it with the interior pole tie-outs, you'll have a much roomier tarp. And it also has the auxiliary pull-outs on the top, but today I'm only going to be dealing with how to make it very large from underneath. So first thing you do is put your tarp up like this, and you take your pole that you've assembled. You know how to put it, these collapsible poles together, and there's a little pressing loop that they send with this ridge line, and you put the pole through that loop and then just run it down to the side here a minute, let it touch the ground, and then come around, and there's two Beastie D rings. One is for your guy line tie-outs, and the other one is for this pole to make it a much larger interior space for over your hammock. So what you simply do is take the pole and run it through the hole in the Beastie ring, and then come back to the other side. So your pole's up in the air. I've got my assistant Angus down here on the other end just in case it's windy. If you do this on a windy day, you're going to have an assistant or it might blow up with you, because once you get this thing wrapped around it, it's easy for the gust of wind to take it up. So now what you do is you don't want to break your pole, so you just bring your tarp up. You don't want to use the door loop. I put shock cord on all my Beastie D-rings because it makes it easier to guy them out. So what you do is take this other end, and you'll see, put a little tension on it and put it through the second Beastie D. Then you'll see the shock cord up there, the prusik shock cord, keeps it from sliding all over the place. So now what you do is I've already put a stake down here. We're going to bring this around. My assistant is still holding the other end. Make sure it doesn't blow away. If it's a calm day, you don't need anybody to help you. You'll be able to do it on your own. So in this case, I'm also using Dutchware's Dutch clips to guy them out. Get in position here. Hook it to my shock cord. Put some tension on it. Put a reverse loop. Lock it in. Let it go. And now it'll hold. It's not going anywhere. Now I come down to this end. Thank you, Angus.
You're welcome.
And we do the same thing here. I've already put this pole on. I just wanted to see how you do it. This pulley is already on, and we're going to guy it out. And then we're going to walk around, and you're going to see how much space this has. And how much space it adds to your normal tarp. Again, guide out whatever tension you feel is appropriate. Release it. That's not going anywhere. Now these are the two auxiliary tie-outs you can use instead of these. Like if you were hammocking, you probably wouldn't carry these. You can use your trekking poles and put them over the top, and use your tie-outs going up to your trekking poles, and that can give you some additional space too. but not quite as adequate as what this is. So if you come around here, flip these up, flip the doors up just briefly, and if you'd come underneath here, you can see how much room it gives you over your hammock. I mean, it really makes it very spacious. It's just fantastic. Now, while the cameraman is underneath here, I want him to get closer and see something and move the hammock out of the way. I was under here trying to cut some cord when I first got this in the mail. I was sitting here cutting some of my shock cord to tie out the guy out the doors, and I slipped with my knife and I cut a slit right where you see this patch right here. And this is a bonded patch that's done by the company, and that's the shout out that I want to give you. So let's go back outside. You'll notice the patch was put on the underside by the company, and you can see it on the outside, but you have to look pretty close to see where. This is where I cut it accidentally from the underside. I cut it through, and so they put that patch underneath there, and you can see it blends in very nicely. And let me tell you, I did this the very day that I received this from Dutchware Gear, and I was just sick of it. I said, oh my gosh, I ruined my tarp. And I thought, I wonder if I can put a piece of tenacious tape on this and fix it. But I remember Dutch saying something about this new bonded process. So they were going to be able to have, I thought I remembered that it was just some kind of patch kit that you could call and pay for and order, and he'd send you. But when I called Dutchware Gear, I actually got somebody that answers the phone. Can you believe that? They answer the phone at Dutchware Gear, and it's somebody that understands your dilemma. And I tell you, they're real problem solvers at Dutchware. They want you to be happy. You can tell this company cares about their products and cares about their service, their customer service after the sale in this case. So I talked to the girl briefly. I thought she was going to be able to send me a tape, but she says, sir, she says, I think that you have to send the bonded tarp back if you want a bonded repair. It's not something that we can issue you where you could do it yourself. But let me check with Dutch and see. So she comes back on the phone in a few minutes after having talked to Dutch personally, the owner, and says, yes, sir, if you'll send it back and pay the postage both ways, we'll repair it for you. And she says, this is the part that's just unbelievable. I was just left speechless, didn't know what to say for a few minutes. She says, he'll repair it at no charge. I thought, gosh, that's unbelievable. No charge, how can I turn that down? So at any rate, I packed it up the following day, and because I needed it for the camping trip that we're on here, and this was like no more than like 10 days ago. I sent it back in, UPS, with the postage label paid on return, or RMA, if you will, RMD, whatever they call it. And so they repaired it and sent it back to me, and I got it within like maybe 5-6 days of the total turnaround time of the time that I'd originally sent it in with this repair. I was just so amazed, and I've got a lot of Dutchware products that I've ordered over the years, and I've always been pleased with their products, but I've never really needed any service after the sale. And of course, this was something that I caused. It had nothing to do with anything Dutchware Gear did. This tarp is just a superb tarp. It repels the water great. When you use these bars that you do, there isn't an additional charge for this. This tarp with the bars and the ties and everything cost me about $400. So it's not a cheap tarp, but you know, what's the old saying? Good gear is not cheap. So I would highly recommend this tarp to anybody, and I certainly have to give them a shout out at Dutchware Gear. So Team Dutchware came through for me. That's what I really wanted you to know. So don't ever hesitate to buy anything from Team Dutch, because they'll stand behind their products. So that's all I really wanted to talk about today, and appreciate your time. See you on the trail.